All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today. Today I have Freehold Township head coach Dave Patterson. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Um, Before we get into the good stuff with the Freehold team and successful program there, when did you start? When did you get into coaching, and what made you get into coaching?
So growing up, I was always, always an athlete, always doing, whatever sport was available out there, soccer and basketball. And when I became a teacher, got into basketball coaching first, and actually thought that was going to be my path. I thought I was going to be, a varsity basketball coach. But when I ended up coming back to New Jersey, because I was living in Virginia at the time, I ended up back at my alma mater, Freehold Township. That's where I went to school. And I got a call from Todd Briggs, who he and I played travel soccer and high school soccer with. He asked me if I was going to be putting in for the JV position on the boys' side that was open. So I did that for 4 years, and that was fantastic to learn from him and to work with him. His program, when he was running the boys' side, had a lot of success, just like the boys' program now has a lot of success. And then so that was 2006 to 2009. And then in 2010, I became the girls varsity coach. So I've done 10 years with them.
Oh wow, that's pretty good tenure.
Yeah.
Um, I like to ask coaches this: do you find a similarity to coaching and teaching?
I think it's one and the same. I know there's a lot of teachers who coach, and sometimes you have coaches who teach. But I think of both of my preparation and my actual, my day to day as pretty much the same thing. You're preparing with an end goal in mind, and there's a lot of intermediate steps that you take along the way to get to that bigger goal. And it's all about working with people and helping people, and trying to get the most out of people to help them grow.
Um, I want to go over some of the accomplishments your team has had, since you took over as head coach.
Sure. So when I took over, the team was really on an upward swing. In 2010, had a very, very talented group that I was picking up as they were juniors. That year, we went to the short conference semifinal and won the division for the first time in 10 years. The following year, we won the short conference tournament in 2011. And then we had a couple years where we were still successful, won divisions. But it wasn't until 2015 that we really broke through on the state, where we ended up winning the Central Jersey Group 4, and then we're co-Group 4 champs with Ridge. In 2016, we weren't quite champions, but we made both finals. We made the Central Jersey Group 4 final and the short conference final, lost in both of those, unfortunately. And then in 2017, we came back and won the Central Jersey Group 4 again. And we're co-champs again with Ridge, believe it or not, 0-0 for the second time in 3 years. And since then, we've been making finals, making semifinals. We haven't broken through with the championships on the short conference or state level. But overall, it's been a pretty successful 10 years with the program. A lot of talented players.
Yeah, Group 4 Central Jersey, Group 4 South Jersey. That's it's a brutal group. It's you play best teams in the state when you're in that group.
Yeah, definitely a lot of talented teams with Hunter and Central, obviously. Old Bridge and East Brunswick, definitely. Manalapan, there's a lot of talented groups.
Yeah. A couple of your teams also made the APP, their top, teams, 30 teams, I think they did, since you took over, which is a, great testament how good the program is. Do you feel the youth program in Freehold helps, feed your high school program?
100%. They do a fantastic job with the Freehold Soccer League to help the girls get involved early and then to push them to improve. The feeder program is fantastic. One of the things that also we benefit from, even though we are Freehold Township High School, the way the lines are drawn in the district, sometimes we get some kids who actually live in Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get some kids who actually live in Manalapan, but because of the way that they're districted, we end up benefiting from that by getting some of those kids as well. And that's really helped build our roster as well.
Yeah, it seems like the better Howell players are on the Freehold side. I remember when the whole redistrict thing happened. I think it was when my sister was in high school, and it was tough because her travel team was broken up essentially. But that's so many kids in the Freehold Howell area. They had to do something.
Right, definitely, yeah.
I want to recap last season. I got to see your team quite often. It was such a fun team to watch. The way your team plays, I really enjoyed it. What were some of the accomplishments your team had last year?
So when I think about our team last year, obviously we went to the Shore Conference semifinal, lost on penalties to Toms River North, a very good team, and we made it to the state sectional final against Hunter Central. Took them to overtime. The overall Group 4 champion and number 1 team in the state. We took them to overtime, but we weren't able to kind of break through. Those are kind of like the highlights throughout the year. We kind of like. We would start and stop and start and stop, and we never really got the rhythm that we were really looking for. We'd have 2 great performances, and then we'd have a letdown, 3 great performances, and then a letdown. So we had trouble with rhythm and consistency last year. But the girls fought hard and had a lot of talented players step up in big spots and, push us to the Shore Conference semifinal and the state sectional final too.
There's a couple games I'd like your opinion and talk about. One was the St. Rose game in the Shore Conference. I thought both your teams were seeded improperly. I haven't been shy saying that.
Right.
I thought both of you were higher in an 8-9 seed, and that we got a potential semifinal matchup in the quarters. Talk that game going double overtime. You were trailing. You tied it. And a good back and forth game that ended up going to like the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, leading up to that game, I had scouted them, just like I scout just about everybody. Well, in normal years, I scout just about everybody. But I knew the Leskauskas girl. She was fantastic. I watched her play twice that year alone, and we kind of tried to game plan for her, which is something I generally don't like to do. But when you have such a transcendent talent like her, we probably overcompensated as coaches in our game plan to do that. And because of that, we weren't really playing our style. We weren't playing to our strengths. So at our halftime conversation, we talked about making some changes. And that kind of started to spur us on and get us that momentum going into the rest of the game. And then obviously it worked out for us there in overtime.
Yeah, I want to talk before we get into a couple other games. You talk about halftime changes. The first game I saw you guys, you were at Howell, and I was kind of on your side where you were talking to your team at halftime, and I noticed this. I soccer background. Howell was controlling the ball when it was up in the air, and you guys were controlling the ball on the ground. I heard you say your team keep the ball on the ground, which
right.
I mean, just being a neutral fan in the stands was like, yep, that's the thing I would be telling the team right now. Talk a little bit about the Toms River North game because people asked my opinions for the semifinals, and I kind of thought RBC was going to win. With their loaded team, and I didn't know who was going to win your game. I knew it was going to end up in a shootout for some reason. Just talk a little bit, about that great game and what it felt like, dropping in a shootout because I always hate when a team ends up losing in a shootout.
Yeah, definitely. I think Freehold Township and Toms River North have had quite a few really, really good battles over the years. Their coaching staff does a great job, and they have a lot of talented players. In that game in particular. I felt like we were really, controlling the ball well. I thought we were controlling a lot of the play. They were dangerous, obviously, in a lot of situations. We ended up going down with a goal that they scored from probably about 40 yards away. Just kind of one of those, the girl picked her head up, saw an opportunity, and she hit it. And to her credit, she put it, right in a spot where we couldn't get it. And we were down, but we never quit. We never stopped fighting. We want to compete for championships every single year. And when we, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, we didn't quit, and we made it switch to move Athena Giannacoris. We moved her up, so basically adding another offensive player. We went to 3 backs at that time, and she ended up making the starting of that play that pushed it ahead to Ryan, and Ryan Leonard was able to make a fantastic play with, I believe it was something like 12 seconds left to go to overtime. And then, we were so up, and we pushed in overtime, and I thought we had a lot of great chances. Didn't go for us. And then it went to penalties. And, when you go to penalties, it's a toss of a coin.
Yep.
Their keeper's fantastic. Our keeper's fantastic too, but, that's just kind of the way it goes. And, we worked on PKs a lot throughout the postseason. That it didn't go our way that day. But I think that was a great experience for that group last year, because they ended up coming back. We ended up having that opportunity again to do that in the sectional semifinal, which pushed us to the sectional final. So that experience really helped us in the long run.
Yeah, talking about sectionals, we'll go through, Central Jersey, like I said, tough bracket. You guys played Hightstown, you won pretty convincingly. Then, a tough Monroe team, which talk a little bit about the Monroe game and the Old Bridge game.
Yeah, I would say both of those games were pretty similar in that those teams are fast and physical, and we like to try to possess the ball, keep it down on the ground, and they were doing a lot of high pressure. Both of those teams were, and they were trying to disrupt a lot of what we were doing, and that did make it challenging for us. But in both of those situations, I think we kind of being there in the years prior and having such a tough schedule leading up to that point, I think those experiences really helped our team get to that next level and push through and get both of those wins. I mean, even though we won the one on penalty kicks, the other one was a penalty win as well. It was just we had ended up winning a penalty with just, I believe it was something like 4 minutes to go, and then Anna Provorkina finished it for us.
Yeah. I want to talk about a couple of your seniors, but the Hunter and Central game, I made the trip out there, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
It was a fun game. Your team didn't back down. They had their opportunities. I thought Hunter and Central scored on a little bit of a chintzy goal, but that's the breaks in soccer. Just talk about the team and the way your team fought that game.
Yeah, I was so proud of the way that they fought, because we've had battles with Hunter Central 4 or 5 times over my 10 years, and when you make that trip all the way up there, it could be tough. It could be tough to get up for that game, sitting on the bus for an hour and a half. Sometimes, and most of the times you show up and it's freezing out. One time we showed up and it was snowing there. But like you said, we didn't back down. We were going to give them everything we had. And I think we did do that. And I think we maybe surprised them a little bit, because we weren't, it wasn't the 1 versus 2 seed last year. We were, as we were pushed down a little bit in the state bracket as well. But I think we showed them that we were the same Freehold Township team that has battled them so many times over the years. And, we had them on the ropes. We had some chances, but then, like you said, the soccer gods weren't on our side that day.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of your seniors. I would like to talk about Athena a little bit, because to me, she was one of the most versatile players I saw this year. You would have her at defense, and the next thing I turn my head, she's at halfback, or push it forward. Talk a little bit about Athena.
Yeah, so Athena, who is at High Point right now, she there's a reason she's playing Division I soccer. She's very, very talented, and she's very smart, and she sees the game at a very high level. And, there were times early on where she was starting the game as a forward, but we ultimately, settled on, the outside back position because of our formation. There's just so much room down the flank for her that she was really able to kind of exploit that space and just create opportunity after opportunity for her teammates and for herself sometimes too. So that was very, very beneficial. Yeah.
You talk about, exploit, the space and stuff. That's something I've been trying to teach my niece, take the open space, because, they put her defense right now. She's young, but I say you got to take the open space until it's not there anymore, and then, make something happen. Another top senior you had was Anna. She had the big goal against Monroe, penalty kick. Always seemed to be in the right spot to finish a shot. I think it was the Rumson Shore Conference game. She had a big goal.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
Talk a little bit, Anna. What she meant.
Yeah, so Anna, a very, very technical player. You mentioned the fact that she's there to finish a lot of the goals, but she was also the leading assist maker in the conference at 20 for the year, which was amazing, because she's obviously talented enough to strike the ball and to create her own shots as well. But where she was most pivotal was, creating opportunities for other people, whether it was, a quick look to the opposite diagonal run or a slip through the middle. She really, really was in tune with the rest of the players insofar as, what kind of runs they were making and what kind of opportunities were there. So yeah, she was a fantastic player to have for us.
And then another senior I want to talk about she seemed like she scored every game I went to was Kat O'Brien.
Yeah, Kat's she's such a nose for the goal kind of player. And the growth that she made from junior year to senior year was awesome to see. That's exactly, what you hope of a player, whatever that time frame is, whether it's freshman to sophomore year or junior to senior year, you want to see that player take that next step. And Kat did that for us last year to the tune of 14 goals, which was the team lead. And she just didn't quit. She had a motor that just went and went and went. And it's all to her credit. She put in the work over the summer. She was probably the fittest player we had on the team. And she really, made that happen for herself and obviously for the team too.
Who's the other senior? Taylor. Taylor did a good. To me,
Yep.
seemed like a role player, but she, always, seemed like games I was going at always, stepped up big. Could you talk a little bit about Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor, Molly Brachet. They were both very talented technical players. And that's one of the things that's tough about our program is that we have so many talented players that you kind of forget about those players sometimes. But as the coach and as the rest of the coaching staff, we know how lucky we are to have players, like Taylor, like Molly, who are, more than just what their role shows. They're technical, they're smart, they're intelligent, and they make big plays for you at big times. I talk all the time about how proud I am about the soccer players we have and the kind of people that they are. But they're also, I teach AP classes. A lot of them are in my AP class or my IB classes as well, because they're just that smart too. They're great kids.
Yeah, transitioning into your senior class this year. Me and you've talked. One of your you tell me how smart she. Lindsay Lloyd.
Yep.
I got to watch on the basketball court. And I want to talk a little bit about the income. You have a large senior class this year. Going through the roster, a lot of talented players too. Who do you expect to take over like the leadership roles that Athena and Anna?
Yeah, I think we're very kind of fortunate in that we have kind of leaders at every level of the field. And it starts with Ava Madoff in the back. She's vocal. She's got the confidence and she's got the skill that everyone kind of we understand the kind of player that she is. So when Ava speaks up, we know that she knows what she's talking about. So from that position, she's going to contribute a lot. You go up to the next line with the back line. We have 3 backs that are all centers, starting in the middle with Gabby Zuchek, a 4-year starter for us, and she's someone who's always been a great communicator and helping her teammates understand what play needs to be made, who needs to be marking where, and things like that. And on the outside, Sam Linico and Athena's sister Acacia Giannacoris are going to be, they don't necessarily speak as much. They're not as loud on the field. But their play stands out, and their play speaks for itself insofar as leading by example. And you see the same thing across the front line as well. Ryan's not going to, talk your ear off about too much going on. But, you watch Ryan out there and you see how hard she's working, and you're like, man, I got to be like that. I have to work like that. And Lindsay Lloyd's the same way. Everyone respects her as a person and as a player, and, they're not going to want to work less because they know that Lindsay is working as hard as she's working. Ryan's working as hard as she is. So we have a great combination of great communicators as leaders, but also the leading by example as well.
Yeah, and I think you hit the head with Ryan. How hard she works up front, and one of the compliments I got from another coach was how fast she is too. Getting up that field. And to me, Ava was probably, I went to saw a lot of teams last season as a goalie, communicated most. And she was communicating to the whole field, not to just the defense. She was communicating all the way up front, which is so impressive. And I don't know if you want to talk, Ava actually playing states injured, tells you, what kind of mentality she has too.
Yeah, she got hurt in that Tom's River North game in the short conference semifinal, and and I knew she was hurt, but she was at the next practice we had, and limping a little bit. Saw the trainer, but she never let on how much hurt she actually was, to the point where we just kind of forgot about it because that was just Ava toughing it out, and then all of a sudden we're doing uniform collections a couple of days after we lost to Hunter Central. She walks into my classroom wearing a boot, and I'm like, "Hey, but what happened?" But that's just, it speaks to the mentality that she has, that she's not going to let anything hold her back. So yeah, it's just incredible the things that she's overcome, and so many other people have overcome too.
Yeah. Who's some players that might be flying under the radar, underclassmen wise?
Yeah, I mean, we like you said, a huge senior class, the biggest I've ever had. And a lot of talent there, but we also have a lot of underclassmen who people might not be as commonly known names, but we know them and we understand how strong they are. We have a junior in Kelsey Gilroy, who's a third-year starter for us. Her first year, she was a center back, and she really held things down back there. Last year, she kind of bounced back and forth between center back and holding midfielder. She's going to probably do a little bit of the same this year as well. But she's a calming presence. She's a hard-nosed player. She anticipates the play really well. Beyond that, we have two sophomores that were both starters for us last year, and Gabby Kaluch, who was kind of flip-flops with Kelsey, center back to holding mid. We might see her push up even a little bit beyond that this year. And Kayla Wong, who's a fantastic playmaker, from the central midfield position. And then we have a few incoming freshmen who we have a lot of high expectations for too.
Now you brought up Kayla. To me, I think by the time she's a senior, she's going to be a short conference player of the year. That type of rare talent. And I so she got mentioned to APP. One of the players to watch. And Gabby, she stood out a few games that I was at too, and I was impressed. That she was so young on the team. So, Freehold, your team, it seems like just revolving door, talented players. Your seniors, do they do a good job as, taking the underclassmen under their wing, showing them, what it is to be, the tradition at Freehold?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that the upperclassmen do the best. They're welcoming, and they're appreciative of the talent that the underclassmen have. They're not just moving aside and letting them kind of take their positions away. They're making them earn it. And as coaches, we're making everybody earn their positions out there. But they definitely see the talent that's there, and they know that we're going to be at our best when Kayla's kind of running things through the middle. They know that we're going to be at our best when Gab Kaluch is involved in both the defense and the transition to the offense. And I think we're starting to get a little bit of understanding about what the incoming freshmen are going to be capable of doing too.
I want to talk the schedule a little bit. What's your feeling of playing, basically home and away the same team?
So I'll be honest with you. When it was, May and June, I didn't even know if we were going to have a season.
Yeah.
So the fact that, we're sitting here talking and we're a week into the preseason, I'm just quite honestly happy that these girls have an opportunity to have a season. So whatever the schedule is, and we're going to go out and we're going to give it our best each and every game. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. We open with Manalapan. We go there and then they come to us, and those are always big time rivalry games. So those are things that we have to be ready for. And how do we the first game is going to be at their place, and their field is a lot different than our field as far as size goes, and that changes the dynamic of the game. And then you go on and you do the same thing with everybody else, the home and away. That dynamic is different every time. So we're excited about the opportunity to play. We're still figuring out a lot of things about who we are as a team, and we hope that when we get to that October 1st date, that we know a lot more and we're ready to go then.
It's funny you said talking about May, April, May, even June, not knowing whether I brought up to somebody in August that I wanted to start doing these interviews. It was probably mid-August, and their response was, "Yeah, a little early. Do you think there's even going to be a season?" And I had the more positive outlook. Especially since you saw all the summer leagues running for basketball, soccer. Good Sports was running their league. One team I want to talk about in your division. To me, right now, I would have you guys 2 behind RBC and Middletown South 3. I give the advantage because your goalie's returning. Middletown South graduated their goalie. I'm going to talk to Coach Barry early next week. Talk about that game because to me that's a game everyone has circled on their schedules as game to see.
Yeah, I'd say Freehold Township and Mid South. We've had quite a few battles over the years as well. Last year was a weird one because of the way the Shore Conference got pushed up. We ended up playing that game in the middle of the Shore Conference tournament. And we were kind of a little banged up at that point. And they got the better of us for sure on that day. But we know the talent that they have. And we know it's a lot more than just Katie Coyle, although she's fantastic. Yeah. We know they're deep and talented, and we know Meg and Jody are doing a great job with them. And, we're definitely looking forward to it. It's a little bit later in our schedule, so it's circled just like all the other games are circled. And right now we're just focusing on us and trying to make sure we're moving in the right direction.
Are you in a division where you can add 2 games?
We were able to add 1 game. Our athletic director handles our scheduling, and he does a great job for us. So we added Ocean Township on October 13th, and that's kind of where we are on that. Yeah. We don't duck teams. We'll play anybody, but that's just the way it kind of worked out this year.
Yeah, I spoke to the Ocean coach last week. I had her on. I know her through Howell Soccer Club. Before we wrap up, just a couple questions. How did you find out? How did you feel with the phases that the state rolled out? I know it was tough, but a lot of conditioning and ball skill and ball handling. Did Freehold have a good? The district have a good game plan going into how to handle it? And the athletic director, everyone keeps complimenting the trainers in this. Trainers this year are probably gonna have a bigger role than they ever had. Can you just talk about how Freehold handled the phases?
Yeah, sure. I think I agree. Our administration did a great job of preparing everybody for the expectations, and then the actual how it went down. The first day, took a little bit of while for everyone to get through the line and everyone understand exactly what was expected. But yeah, our trainer's fantastic. Rebecca's out there, just about every practice, and she's talking to players and she's talking to coaches, and she's really, really in tune with what's going on around the whole campus for all the teams that she's in charge of. As a team, we sat back a little bit. We were allowed to start. The state said the 13th of July. Our district pushed it back to the 20th. And in that time, we allowed the girls to kind of work with an outside trainer. We had Nicole Whitley work out a lot of the girls, and that was fantastic for them to get that experience of working with an alumni who, has a lot of pride in what our program is. And then we started up in August, and we went through August for those 4 weeks. And while it was different for sure, no contact at all, the small groups and stuff like that, but we believe so much in what those 4 weeks were able to do for us insofar as working on our touch, staying crisp there, working on our passing, and obviously fitness along the way. We believe that did really help us out, help to limit the muscle injuries and things like that. And then the blackout period for those 2 weeks, I thought that was a little bit tough, but so far it looks like the girls did a really good job during those 2 weeks of staying fit. I know some of their club teams were still getting together during that time, so hopefully we can avoid those knick-knack preseason injuries that lead into the season. But yeah, I was really happy with the way this summer actually went off.
It seems like a lot of coaches that I spoke to, even before I started doing the interviews, they brought in, they didn't bring in, trainers worked with the team, where they weren't involved. It seems like, seems like to be a norm. Which is good. At least the team's getting together. Gotta get accustomed, because honestly, if you just started on Monday, it's tough. 2 weeks to get get your team.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Just familiarity and stuff like that. Last question, then I'll let you go. What are some goals you have set for this season?
So yeah, we're hoping to get, we have big goals, we have small goals. We hope to get better each and every day, and then whatever the championship looks like, we want to be hoisting that trophy at the end of the season. These seniors, when they were freshmen, a couple of them were big role players, big players on that state championship team we had. And the last couple of years, we fell short of what we wanted to accomplish. So whatever championship is out there, we want to go get it. We know we have quite a bit of talent. We have to stay healthy. We have to get a little lucky, and we hope to be hoisting trophies at the end of the year.
Yeah, I guess I said to a couple of coaches, it's tough to set, postseason. If you have like a team like yours, you would have postseason goals with the talent, but it's tough, because you don't even know what the postseason might look like this year. Who knows if they're, sure conference. I can't see there being a sure conference the way it's just too condensed. But whatever the states might look like, and Freehold's always in the conversation for those type of postseason awards.
Yeah.
Coach, I appreciate you taking your time, and I know you guys are busy, especially now with most of your teachers, and you guys are practicing. So I look forward to seeing you on the sideline.
Yeah, Nick, I appreciate your coverage. I appreciate you always looking out for high school sports, and especially on the girls' side. So I appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, take care, Nick.